Angle down.
Perfect.
Cool. We're going live.
Action.
Could potentially be live right now. It could take 10 seconds. There's always the awkward 20 seconds in the beginning where we don't know whether we're live or not.
Sure.
And I wait for it to pop up on my phone. I think it's popping up. All right, cool. It looks like we're live. So this is my good friend Tim. We're doing a hangout for you all today in the MLO network. Hello, everybody. Tim, you could just tell everybody who you are real quick, but before you do that, I'm going to tell them why we're here today. Today, we're going to share something that I've seen Tim do over the last 5 to 7 years, and I think it's a really, really cool strategy. And I know that we shared it with some of our inner circle coaching loan officer acceleration folks a few weeks ago, and many of them got excited about it. The reason they got excited about it was just because the market's shifting. In many cases, the inventory levels are just not what we want them to be. And we want to take as many swings at the plate as we can this year. I mean, nobody wants to walk away from a deal if they can find a way to do it. So Tim is going to talk today about some of the niche products that he used to build an extremely solid business. And, you know, shocker here, or I guess I'll give away the punchline. I mean, some of this is going to be slightly more difficult. Some of it perhaps would involve renovation lending. I'll let Tim talk about all that. So I guess I already ruined your intro, Tim, but go from there. Tell us who you are, what you do, and why you decided to volunteer to share all this with the country today.
Sure. So my name is Tim Pascarella. I'm president. I always say president / loan officer at Ross Mortgage Corporation out here in Troy, Michigan, suburb of Detroit. Been doing this for about 15 years. I still originate loans today through a team underneath me, and been doing this for 15 years. And you know, I've been through these lulls before, and there's always an answer to them. And you just got to be a little more creative and use products that your company enables you to have, and just try to be the solution. You're going to hear me say solution a lot, because that's what I try to do. I try to be the solution to every realtor's problem. It seems like right now the realtor's problems is inventory, so we got a solution for that.
I like it, man. So the realtor's problem is inventory. Well, sometimes they don't have enough buyers or sellers talking to them as well, which
Right.
of course translates into part of the inventory problem. Or perhaps they have a bunch of buyers, and anyways, it's definitely inventory.
Yeah.
So I guess let's start out with that. I mean, today's problem is perhaps different than the problem that they had in the past. You know, during the mortgage meltdown, there was a lot of inventory, but the houses weren't very saleable. You know, today's world, just not a lot of houses. So
Yeah, I think there's the do's and the don'ts of today's inventory. You know, there's your turnkey, that is people are recognizing a large amount of equity in homes that they bought over the last 5 to 7 years, and those houses, it has nothing to do with what I'm about to talk about, because those houses, there's just not enough of them. If we had a lot of those out there, we'd all be in the same shape we were a couple years ago, which was pretty good.
Right.
So I don't have a solution to the fact that there's not enough turnkey properties. I do for the buyers, just not the realtors. The realtors seem to be pretty happy about that because they get multiple offers on these listings. Where I have solutions for is convincing people to sell. So convincing realtors to give realtors a good sales pitch to get people to sell their homes, even though they're not turnkey. And then 2, the don'ts of the listings right now, which are the less than desirable homes that are out there today. There are products that can get people to want to buy those houses.
Okay, so let's say that you're meeting with a realtor and you're trying to help them understand how to either pick up more listings or get their buyers into a house quicker. How do you proposition that? How do you start creating value for them?
Sure.
You know, you don't just walk out and say, "Hey, I'm going to teach you how to do a 2 or 3K. I got a 2 or 3K class." I mean,
No, you're absolutely right, because I don't want them to learn how anyways. They would just mess it up. What I want them to do, and most people would just mess them up for that matter. What I want them to do is I want them to have it in their back pocket, in the back of their head, that there is a program out there that can help them show less houses and sell more. That's what it is. So right now, I'm going to focus on the 203K, but I'll be honest with you, we've been doing just as many conventional renovation loans as we have 203Ks too, so they're just as important. But the reason why I'm going to focus on FHAs is because it never fails when I teach a renovation loan class to a bunch of realtors. I always start off the class asking the same question. Does anybody have a listing they have right now that they don't accept FHA financing on because of the condition of the home? And it never fails. I always have one or two agents raise their hand and say, we do. And then I just tell them the basic MBA stat, which is right now about 32% of all pre-approved buyers are FHA. Now, it used to be about 44 or something like that, but now it's 32%. I go, if you don't accept FHA offers on a house because of its condition, you're basically telling 32% of the buyers in America, don't look at my house. So with the FHA 203K, what you can do is you can now open that up to all those FHA buyers. There's credit limits, obviously, but you get my point, is that you're going to open it up. The more people that want to come see your house, the more people that are willing to come see your house, the more likely you're going to sell that house. And if you open it up to the renovation loan, now they're not going into it thinking, they already know it's a less than desirable home. They're going into it with a vision of what they can make the home through this program, and you'll have a better chance of selling that property for sure. If you say that to an agent, at a minimum, you're going to get their attention.
I like it. You know, I was just talking to Jim Prince this morning, and Jim and I did a hangout yesterday, and he was talking about how much he really tries to pay attention to all the products and all the guidelines and you know as much as he can for his team. And I was chatting with him again this morning just to send him a copy of the recording, and he's like, yep, I'm off to teach a class about renovation loans this morning. And I say this on a lot of these hangouts. I mean, you see people that are winning all over the country and doing it with purchase business, and we start talking to them, and they all end up having the same secrets. They're not secrets at all. They're things that a lot of us run into over the course of these up and down cycles.
Absolutely. They're not secrets either. You're right. I think my biggest advice to any loan officer that comes and talks to me about renovation loans, I always tell them the same thing. The first thing you have to do is go learn the product. And not just the one-on-one crash course either. The 7 bullet points to a 203K, you could go and sell no problem. You're going to get a deal. If you don't know what to do on the back end, you're going to ruin that relationship, and any person that realtor talks to, you're going to ruin that as well. Learn the product, but what I will tell most loan officers who have been in the business for over a couple years and have done quite a few loans, they're not as difficult as everybody says they are. The key is to have either an investor, if you're a broker, or a correspondent lender that's good at doing them. It's typically not the loan officer who, and I don't say this very often, but it's typically not the loan officer who can make these things trip. It's the company doesn't know what they're doing on the back end. These loans can be complicated after they close. They can be complicated during the process. So you need to have your process nailed. You need to know exactly what to get from the contractor. You need to have a good book of contractors as well. And this product, what I always sell this product is, I sell it every time, is I guarantee you that if a realtor embraces this product, they can sell up to 6 more homes a year based on the type of volume they do. And if you say that to any realtor, again, you're going to garner their attention.
I like it. Well, and sometimes too we find, and I say that this with some of the folks I teach about VA lending, you find that it's not necessarily the fact that they found more buyers because they knew about the product. It's the fact that they were able to take their current buyers and get them under contract faster.
Yep.
So that they were able to spend more time prospecting and not worry as much about all their current clients finding houses.
Yep.
It's the same thing I tell when we teach the agents of VA class. I say, helping that veteran get the offer accepted, this is a bad way to say it, but it kind of gets them out of your pipeline. And that's not your goal. You don't want to get rid of them, but you want to make their process smooth and efficient and free up your own time. So sometimes giving you time to make more money is just as important as giving you another lead or another client, Mr. Realtor. If I can give you more time, that's super valuable.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what you're doing. You're giving them more time.
1,000%. That's where I go. That's the second half of sell more homes. You're going to sell more homes because you're going to sell more listings knowing about the 203K, but you're going to sell more homes to buyers simply because you have more time. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, what I always call renovation loans is I say renovation loans, and I'm going to try not to be an immature and chuckle at this, but it takes care of the butt, right? So you're in the home, and you're with a client, and the client says, "Man, this is the right location. It's got sidewalks, it's got a big backyard. I'm close to the school that I desire. Everything's great about this, but you know what? I got one more kid than I do bedrooms here, so I'm gonna have to pass on this one. Let's go look at 10 other homes." If that realtor has the 203K, and that truly is the perfect home for them, and all they got to do is build another bedroom, why not talk to them about the renovation loan, the 203K, the home style? Say, hey, you know what? I have a lender that has a product that's going to enable you to buy this property and also roll in the cost to build another home. If we could do that, would you be willing to write an offer on this house? And by the way, adding another bedroom, you're almost guaranteed some equity too. Would that be worth your time? Just by saying that in that situation, in that moment, in order to get that person to say yes, and if you truly believe it's a good fit and everything, don't be too pushy. But my point is, you're going to sell that home that day. And you're not going to go look at 10 other homes. And you're not going to spend 3 more weeks looking for homes with this person because you've taken care of the one complaint they had. And it's a powerful tool. You need to have a lender that knows what they're doing without a shadow of a doubt. And if you're an LO, you need to know what you're doing. Don't sell these if you don't. But with that being said, that right there, that agent, and then if you do nail it, so now you got one, you worked with the right contractor, you nailed it, and you closed it, do you think that realtor is going to give you their next conventional $500,000 deal? Yeah, so that I've always used it to open the door and build relationships.
I love it. We talked about this, you and I talked about this a lot one-on-one, and back in the day during the downturn when there was a lot of houses that had all the bank-owned issues, it was a big part of your pipeline. But now, you teach it and you are a local specialist or expert at it, but it's not necessarily teaching the class that brings you these relationships. That all the loans that are coming, like you just said, you're not doing 35 renovation loans a month. You're doing you used to have quite a few because
they're relationship builders. Absolutely, they're relationship builders. First off, if you tell any agent you got a program and you're confident when you say it that can close 6 more deals for them a year, they're going to meet with you.
Yep.
It's up to you to make sure they like you. I could make you the smartest renovation lender in the world. If you're a jackass in the meeting, they're not going to like you. So it's still up to you to open, once the door's open, it's still up to you to build that relationship. But with that being said, if you can build that relationship and then actually act on your promise, what I mean by that is I've had relationships where I've called on realtors and I've tried selling them the 203K or home style loan, conventional renovation loan. And, nothing, no phone ring, nothing works. And then all of a sudden, a month or two after, slowly dripping them with just reminding them who I am and where I am, a month later goes by, they call me up, they're like, hey, I'm stuck. Well, what's wrong? I got a deal that because of a health and safety issue, I can't close this loan. Well, I go, we'll flip it over to a home style loan. There's no minimum. I can have $1,000 repair and I can turn this thing around and you can get this property or do a 203K, either one. The minute you save a deal for someone with one of these renovation loans, and all you did was just really stay in front of them, they weren't send you any deals. You were just consistent with your message. The minute you save a deal for them and put money in their pocket that they otherwise would not have, the relationship blossoms.
I love it, man. I love it. And sometimes too, like you're talking about, just creating that opportunity, creating that relationship, it gets you in front of folks that start talking about the renovation, and it becomes perhaps escrow for repair or just a completely different deal. Mm-hmm. And I hear this a lot from the local folks that I know that do our Michigan down payment program. And we hear a lot of people locally, oh my God, these are money losers, and we don't get paid enough, and they're a pain in the ass. But I know some LOs that do a decent job of teaching classes and putting themselves in front of agents on that product. And heck, they don't even do that many of them because most of the folks don't qualify or they fit better in a different program. But the fact that LO can perform when they need to or can offer it when it's required brings them the opportunity to talk to so many more people. So it's the same concept here. It's having value as a go-to person and as a specialist. At the end of the day, that's why they're reaching out to you, because even if the answer isn't what they thought it was, they know that you know what the right answer is.
Absolutely. You always say this to me. It's just being an authority figure. Mm-hmm. They when they look at you as the knowledgeable one,
Mm-hmm.
the relationship just happens,
Absolutely.
because at the end of the day, if you're the smartest person in the room and they want you to do their business, that's their money they're handing you.
Mm-hmm.
That you're like their bank. They
Mm-hmm.
expect the money back.
Totally.
I've always said that to loan officers. You're like the realtor's bank. When they give you money, they expect it back.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to make sure that when you promise something, you're going to act on it. And when you do, they trust you more and more and more, and then they don't want to go anywhere else for any of their loans. A lot of loan officers say that. Well, I don't want to be the 203K guy. I mean, I don't want to do 100 of these things. You won't. If you do one of them and you make their money that where they otherwise felt they wouldn't have gotten their money, you're going to get all their business.
Mm-hmm. I dig it, man. Now let's talk about the dark side of this, the contractor piece. Dealing with dealing with contractors. And if you're a contractor in this group, we're sorry, we're not trying to pick on you. But there's definitely there's definitely good and bad in that part of the world. And I talked to a lot of LOs, and they wanna they wanna control or help the client find a contractor, but they certainly don't want to steer or get involved in anything that would seem like that. I mean, how do you make sure your people are picking quality contractors, and how do you work in the contractors world in general?
It's a great question. If I had to say there was one negative downside to this program, it is we don't force anyone to, and there are contractors that we have done with these deals that we love, and if they could do every deal, we'd be ecstatic. But at the end of the day, we all know that's not going to happen. We, as a company, we have a certain set of rules and guidelines based on the volume of the invoice that we are absolutely able to do. For instance, on a streamline, when it's a pretty big over $30,000 streamline, and we know they're only getting 50% of the bid at close, we do ask to verify that they have the rest of the funds to finish the job. But at the end of the day, what we do is just like realtors. I always hear your groups talk about the 3 cards. We do give out 3 cards of very trustworthy 203K expert contractors. If you can somehow find those in the area and partner with them. I'll be honest with you. One of my biggest referral sources from 2012 to 2014 was a contractor. He actually used Ross Mortgage as financing available. He would put on his marketing, financing available. And when they would ask about financing, he would say, have you ever heard of the 203K? And that's basically how he said financing available. So financing options available is what he said. So it is definitely, it can go wrong for sure. But at the end of the day, you can control the process to a point. You can put guidelines in place through your company to say you at least have to fit this criteria and able to do it. We don't allow, for instance, family at all. I don't want to hear that uncle's a licensed builder and he's going to do it. That never turns out good. Because these are all 1099 jobs. There's no cash involved. It's just really important that you tell your realtors and you tell your buyers up front to really do their due diligence. This is a one-time thing. When you redo a kitchen, how many people redo a kitchen every 3 years? This is a one-time thing. So if you're going to redo your kitchen, you might not want to pay the cheapest to redo your kitchen. If this is something you're going to live in for the next 20 years, you might want to make sure you got the best person doing the job. So I think it's just important to let your buyers and your realtors know way upstream how important it is to find a contractor, see if they've ever done one, and then stick with that contractor throughout the whole home search process.
I like it, man. Now you and my good friend John Adams in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
you guys both at one point in the last 5 to 10 years were recognized as #1 in your state, and for renovation. To me, I look at things that LOs are doing all over the country, and when somebody's doing something that stands out slightly different than the herd, I always want to hear what their approach is. Because there's so many ways to skin a cat. I mean, we talked to guys yesterday that are like, no, I want to be the producer, or no, I want to manage a branch, or I don't ever do renovation loans, or I only do conventional loans. The message today is that no matter what you do, find a way to stand out. And as you're saying, you gotta be an expert, a specialist in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. So going back to that concept, if you were talking to a newer LO, and I already know you mentioned make sure that their company actually at least has a product, hopefully underwrites it somewhat in-house, or they have super strong wholesale relationships. What would you do step one? I mean, I know you and I talked about this in the past, but let's kind of share with this bigger audience. What would their first step be? I mean, do we send them to GenWork? Do we send them to First Guarantee? I mean, where do they go to learn and to kind of build and to get started down this path?
I think before you send them anywhere, I think the first thing you need to do is ask them what they plan on doing. When someone says to me, I want to be the conventional king, I say that's fine, except for 84% or 80%, whatever the number is, of the mortgages done in America are conventional. Why in the world do you want to be the conventional king, especially if you've never done a loan or if you're just getting into the business? You know, I've always said, do you want to fight 100 people or do you want to fight 10 people? You know, I mean, your chances are better against 10. So the first thing you got to do is find out what it is they want. When you find out what it is they want, then yes, take advantage of the vendors, take advantage of the people who are trying to grab your business. You know, MI companies is a great place to start. You know, I had one gentleman about 4 years ago, and I never even thought of this as a niche product, but he made a living out of it. He said, I'm going to be the self-employed king. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be able to read tax returns. I'm going to be able to give good advice. You know, da 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 da. And this guy made a living, never met a realtor. He worked with CPAs and CFAs. That was his gig. So, but how he learned was through Magic. It was through MGIC. MGIC has a great self-employed program. He sat there and listened to it 3-4 times. He got the gist of it, and he went out and just told him, if you are self-employed, I am the loan officer for you. I thought he was nuts when he first said it, but I ended up doing the classes with him, and it's amazing that you can really separate yourself. So it's just finding the education. You know, I do 203K trainings that are pretty basic that'll at least get you dangerous. The problem with going to someone like me for a 203K training is I base them off the company I work for, and every company's different, as we all know. So what I say you can do, you might not be able to do elsewhere. But there's HUD. HUD does things, and the MBA's got some great educational and very inexpensive trainings as well. So you're on the right track. Get online, find out where you can learn this stuff. And be an expert or a specialist. I like specialist better than expert too. You know, be a specialist in this, and you'd be amazed at the doors it'll open. Is if you can, and you can tell too when you talk to someone if they really know what they're doing or not.
I like it, and I guess that that brings me to perhaps one of the last points we wanted to talk about today, which was, if you're a specialist, you should make sure that you're putting the message out there to more than just the handful of realtors that are on your email list. You want to teach some classes, you want to make some calls, you want to call a title company and fill a room. And like we said earlier in the call, you don't necessarily want your invite to the class be learn how to sell or learn how to do a 203K loan. I mean, we got a bunch of you guys watching this call today. We mentioned that we were going to teach you how to address a low inventory problem. And you're all sitting there going, what's he talking about? What's he talking about? You showed up on the call. And then, oh, man, he's talking about 203K. Oh, but you know what he said makes sense. It really does make sense. That can help me. It's the same thing with the agents. They're not going to be excited to learn about this stuff.
No.
They're going to say, oh, no, that's your job, Tim. When I run across one, I'll give it to you. But if you approach it as exactly like you said, you have a problem, Mr. Agent. Your problem is low inventory. Your problem is time. I can help you save time. I can help you make more money. I can help you deal with the challenge of low inventory. Got a class coming up. We're going to talk about how we solve all three of these problems and give you some great tools and perhaps some different products that you don't know a whole lot about. You want to show
100%. I mean, I've been in this game for over 15 years, and the two things that top producers all have in common. Number one, first and foremost, they're smart. They're really, really smart. In order to be a top producer in this industry, you got to be really smart. And number two, they're solution-based. Be a solution. If there weren't problems, there wouldn't be top producers, because if there weren't problems, anyone could do this job. You're never judged on the $1 million guy who comes in with an 850 score and 40% down and just needs a mortgage. Nobody's ever going to judge you on those. It's when you're faced with a problem, what type of solution, how do you react, and what type of solution do you give? That's what you're judged on. That's what people want to see you under fire, and how you commit and how you work through that fire. That's what you're judged on, and that's what's going to gain loyalty. That's how I've always kind of lived it.
I dig it. I dig it. And that's, you're never the kind of person that would share this, but I mean, you've closed over 500 million in your career, and you're constantly mentoring and teaching LOs, and everyone appreciates it. If anyone's got a question, you guys can comment below. I see we got a lot of folks watching. I'll probably send this out to the network. So, we're not telling you guys all to go out and specialize in it, but we are telling you, make sure you specialize in something. Make sure that you have a message that sets you apart. And a lot of you, we see you commenting and posting, and I see your surveys when you enter the group. That's one thing you say right away. Oh, I want more relationships. I want more relationships. I want more referrals. You might have to get a little uncomfortable. You might have to do something that is not that easy at first. You might have to wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning and do a few of these trainings, and God forbid you have to dial through a list of 40 or 50 agents. So, I mean, I would tell you to hit up 40 or 50 title people first and try to leverage their network. But I definitely appreciate the time. Any more thoughts before we cut it off?
No, just you'd be amazed at how much money you can make when you get uncomfortable.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. That's a great saying, and maybe we should put that on your shirt.
Be uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable money machine or something like that. So, cool, bud.
Appreciate the time.
You got it, man. While I got you on here, we are doing an MLO Net social meetup next week. I maybe sort of invited you. I don't know if I did, but a lot of you in Metro Detroit are going to be coming to Livonia. I've got a conference room saved. I think there's like 10 of you that said that you're coming. We're going to be going around the room and sharing 5 to 10 minute individual presentations. So the group is networking with each other. There's multiple companies. I think I have 5 or 6 different companies. Oh my God, it's competition. We're all going to actually help each other. I don't have any of the call center guys. If you're a call center guy in here, I'm sorry. You can still come if your boss lets you get off or whatever. So I'm not trying to be mean, but it looks like we got a pretty strong crowd coming. I've got, I believe Corey's talking about Instagram. I'm going to talk about Facebook business pages. Got somebody talking about Facebook social. I got somebody talking about down payment assistance. Somebody talking about renovation loans. Somebody talking about Mishta product. Somebody talking about CRM. I got 1 or 2 spots open. So we're all going to share 1 or 2 or 3 best practice tips. The reason I'm mentioning it on this call, at the end of the call, I'm encouraging you guys to do the same in your market. When you start getting involved with other LOs, you'll be surprised that your business actually ends up growing because you just become better at everything that you do because you're seeking knowledge through the relationships that you have with other. That one's coming up next Friday. I think we're going to go from like 11 to 2. I didn't push you too hard because I know you're a really, really busy guy. I know we got a handful of things planned. I think I might have to move around some other commitments that you and I both have. But either way, that's a cool event that we got coming up next week in the network. So, cool.
Yeah, if I have time, I'd love to come. What I'd share is building teams.
Cool. That's a good one. That's cool.
Sure.
So maybe we'll have time for that as well. So, cool, bud.
All right. Appreciate it.
Catch you guys.
Thanks.